Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and happy New Year. This is the first prime time edition of Focus on Liberia for 2021. Happy New Year, and I will say welcome to all our viewers across the globe. This is our Happy New Year edition today. We're going to be soliciting New Year resolution. What is your New Year's resolution for Liberia for 2021? I'm joined by my co-host and guest co-host, by the way, Mr. Leo Johnson, who is joining me all the way from Canada. Leo, Happy New Year and welcome.
Happy New Year, Mr. Jai, and it's a special honor to be joining you this evening as we begin a very brand new year, 2021.
And we couldn't talk about that, and no one who expressed that better than Lucky Shango. Happy New Year, Minandai, or Happy New Year, Sekime. So we all happy that we cross over, as our Christian brothers would say, we cross over into 2021, and we are happy to be alive. We survived a terrible pandemic, and we are here.
Is there any special New Year is this year, especially this year? We all have been in tough years before, but many at times it's only limited to our own situation or geographic location. 2020 was a year that rocked the globe. So no one was spared. So seeing this 2021, especially if nothing have ever meant anything special in terms of a new year, this particular new year means a whole lot.
Definitely. And to see so many people dying, the number, I mean, is just beyond belief that so many people have died, people still getting sick, and the COVID is dealing with people in very different ways, even those that are surviving. I have a friend who told me my entire system is now messed up. So to be alive, to be well in our right mind, I mean, nothing compares to that. We're so happy. And as we enter 2021, we have our own personal resolutions for 2021. But before we get to that, we want to welcome all our viewers across the globe. Today is an open mic. We want people to join and share your resolution for Liberia. What is it that you want to see happening? But before we get to that, New Year resolutions, what they are, but as we even talk about New Year, there is one New Year that is so memorable to me. I want to share, and Leo, I'll ask for yours as well. And that was 1991. There has been no time I was so hopeful of the coming year than 1991. What happened? 1990, there was war. The country was ravaged. We were sent into exile. We walked through rebel lines under some of the most unimaginable conditions, and we got into exile. So to us, this was like, okay, this has happened. 1990 was a bad year, and 1991 we're so hopeful. And you know how we call 1990? We call it 19 nothing. This is the year that nothing happened. It was so terrible, and we're so hopeful. And there has been no year compared to 1991. We were so hopeful. The war was going to be over. We're going to go back to Monrovia, continue on school, businesses, and everything that we were doing. So that year still sticks to my mind as the most memorable one, that was so hopeful. There was too much expectation that was coming. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, from my end, and it's amazing when you look at how we look at New Year's, depending on what perspective you come at it from, right? From my end, it was 2006. Being in a situation at the time on a refugee camp with no hope of leaving to come anywhere better than going back to Liberia was very troubling, because I didn't have any relatives at the time to say I was hoping that somebody was sending for me. And by the almighty grace of God, in 2006, all of a sudden, I found myself in a pole position to be able, it doesn't matter where I was going in the West, just the fact that I finally got relieved that I was leaving the refugee camp. It almost like anywhere else could have been better than the refugee camp, especially coming to a country like Canada. So 2006 was a brand new year, because I arrived in a new country. I started a new life. And it wasn't part of my New Year's resolution, even though it happened very close to the new year. So it became my single resolution that whole year. In fact, I was like, if nothing else happened, the greatest achievement of New Year has already happened.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a big one. And talking about resolutions, first of all, and we're talking about the topic today is, what is your New Year's resolution for Liberia? All of us, besides our own personal resolutions, we all have things in our mind, a way that we want Liberia to be. There are things that we want to see in Liberia happen. whatever background you may come from. Maybe you expect in the economy, healthcare, in education, in governance, all spheres and aspects of our Liberian life, we want something to change. But resolutions, what are resolutions? And it should be noted that almost everybody, all of us, we make resolutions either knowingly or unknowingly. We make resolutions for the coming year. And I was reading about resolution, and I found out a resolution and goals almost go hand in hand, but they're different, right? With goal, we set these specific targets and say, at this point, I want to achieve this. For a resolution, is something that we want to see change in our life, something we want to keep working on. It could be a weight loss goal. It could be you want to get a degree. You want something to change in your life, and you're going to start working on it. And there are a lot of resolutions people give. Study shows that 80% of those resolutions don't even happen, right? You have resolutions like, you want to budget now. This year, I even bought a planner. See, I want to plan better. I want to organize myself better because I feel like I'm not really organized. And God knows that planner, I still have not written anything in it.
I was about to say, don't be like me, Mr. John. I bought a planner, I never wrote inside.
I never wrote. And I struggle. Okay, what do I write now? Okay. So these are resolutions. So talking about resolution, Leo, you want to talk a little bit more about resolution? Let's go back to the history.
Absolutely. I think it's a good point to go to the history. You know, many of us, many a times we practice these traditions, we get used to them, we love them, but sometimes we never really trace it back to see why all of a sudden New Year resolution became a thing. How did it even become something that people do? And you can trace this back all the way to the ancient Babylonians, about some 4,000 years ago, approximately. They are noted in history as the first people to make New Year's resolutions. I'm pretty sure by then probably it wasn't called New Year's resolutions, but it is the equivalent. They were the one who actually brought about it the time that they did it. And they were also the first to hold recorded celebrations of New Year in history, the first recorded celebrations. Now, they say recorded because sometimes historians will tell you, we don't know if there were other people doing it, but it was just not recorded. So based on the record, the ancient Babylonians were the first. And usually this was the time for the year to begin. Their New Year was not in January, even though it was in March, but it was always a celebration at the beginning of their New Year at the time. And it marked the beginning of the planting of the crops. You can say farming. At the beginning of farming was the beginning of their New Year. Now, it was a 12-day religious festival. It used to be called the Akitu. And they were crowned at the same time they would crown their new king or reaffirm the old king. Now, there's something particular about their commitment to New Year. It was when they made the promise to their pagan gods to pay their debts and return any object they had borrowed. So that was their New Year resolution, that this year to their pagan gods, whichever god was it that they worship, god of the sun or whichever one, that they would make that resolution that this year is the year to pay my debts and I will return any items or things I may have borrowed. Now, these promises were considered the forerunners of what became official New Year resolutions, which is where we talk about important things, Mr. Jai. You talk about weight loss and other things. But for the ancient Babylonians, paying your debt and returning borrowed things was two top things on the list. As today, weight loss is on the top of the list for most people. And the interesting thing about this was if the Babylonians kept their word, then they were on the right side of the pagan gods who would bestow favor upon them for the year as it unfolded. But if not, if they did not keep their resolutions, then they would fall on the wrong side of the pagan gods. And nobody wanted to be on the wrong side of the gods. So this was the history of New Year, which just continued to modern day.
And that's very, very interesting about the history of resolution. Today, we still make resolution whether we keep them or not. Good thing about most of us is we don't get penalized by a god for not keeping our resolutions, unlike the Babylonians. But it's still the case. People hold themselves, if you say something, do it, man. Yeah. So that brings us to our topic for the day. What is your resolution for Liberia? Broadly speaking, Leo, there are a lot of things that we want to see happen in Liberia. And you've been on social media, you've been involved with Liberian issues, Liberian politics, Liberian organizations. What are some of those broader issues that people often talk about, they want to see? What are those changes that you hear people talk about they want to see in Liberia?
I think one of the biggest one that, in fact, people are afraid to talk about publicly, but when you get down to it, you hear people talk about it and the fear of it. We have to be what we are going to do with our brothers and sisters who have been abandoned and now referred to as Zogos today. I still remember years back when they started, it was only limited to ex-combatants those days, right? Where people who have fought the war and were under the influence of drugs, they were never rehabilitated. So as a result, they were considered like rejects in society. They had no way to survive, right? But we are now in a situation where we now see that it's not only restricted to Montserrat. In fact, it has exploded across the country. Even in rural areas now you go, there are these people. And to be frank, the population continues to increase astronomically. And the fear is there is actually no real future for Liberia if we cannot figure out what to do with this challenge that we have on our hand that is not going away anywhere anytime soon unless we do something about it. So for me, I think that's one big New Year issue. This is something that have evaded political agendas, religious agendas, social agendas of people in the sense of nobody really coming up with practical recommendations as to what we need to do collectively as a society to deal with this.
And one reason I think is because people just don't know. And you don't want to set a goal for yourself that you can accomplish. And it doesn't really appeal to maybe electorates, I want to say. So people kind of dodge the issue and say, well, if I take this up, I mean, where is it going to end? So what I keep hearing in when it comes to Liberia, people, the resolution or the changes I see most of the time people talk about, they are mainly political. You know, we are fighting corruption. We need XYZ in office. We need people who has the country at heart. We need XYZ people with this education, all that. So most of the time I see that we talk about the political solutions. And that's the kind of goal we set. Tonight, what we intend to do is we want to open it up so that people express, tell us exactly what they want to see happen in Liberia. It could be in education, agriculture, sports, arts and entertainment. It could be in the economy, whatever area you think. We're going to be opening the phone lines. We are opening the phone lines very shortly so that we can start going into those goals. So if you are just joining us, welcome again to Focus on Liberia. What is your resolution? We want you to call in and participate. So Leo, let's start this rolling.
Yep. The first thing I'll say, Mr. Judge, just a little addition to what you said is that people need to understand when you make resolutions, you are responsible for it, right? Yeah. You cannot make a resolution and hope that somebody else will go and do it. So make sure, think about your resolution, like you said, Mr. Jai, in terms of practicality too, right? I'm making this resolution. If I commit myself to it and do all I need to do, will I be able to achieve it by the end of 2021?
Right. And it's very important that you mentioned that, right? Because a resolution that you make for a year is something that you decide to work on. So it requires effort on your part, you know, maintaining those standards, those goals you set for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so if you're making a resolution for the year 2021, it should be something that you think you can do, you can attain. And before the show started, you give an example of Dennis just setting a resolution for this year of getting a PhD. School's not even open.
Schools are all locked down.
Exactly. So you cannot set these lofty goals or make resolutions that you think you cannot, achieve. So let your resolution be something attainable, at least within. There could be long term, there could be short term, but it should be attainable. Don't just say it because you got more to talk.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Mr. Jab, because I often remind people that everybody loves to be on a winning team. If you watch sports or anything, you know how you feel when you're watching a game and your team is on the losing end. You know how you feel, right? So when you set practical goals, the thing about practical goals, sometimes they look too small in our eyes, right? You think, that's people talk about the weight loss thing, right? You set a goal to lose only 5 pounds. People are like, oh, in your mind, you're like, the whole year, only 5 pounds. But here is the thing about winning. Whenever you win, you demonstrate to people that you know how to set goals and resolutions and plan to achieve it. And that discipline is the same discipline you need for the big victories. The same discipline you need to do the little things is the exact same discipline you need to take on the big things. So make sure you plan. People often like to say, under promise and over deliver, right? Even though you want to lose 50 pounds, but let's be honest, your level of discipline. If you know that at least you can earn 10 pounds, guess what? That same discipline you earn to lose 10 pounds this year, next year, you just need that same discipline to lose another 10 pounds. And before you know it, you become consistent now with your discipline, with how you do things, because you're training. That attitude is the same attitude you need to do something bigger. It's the same discipline and commitment you actually need, just in different proportions.
And that's true, baby steps, because of small successes. If you are a teen and you use the example of that 5 pounds, it may look small to you, but if you achieve that, it gives you the impetus to do more. But if you set 25 pounds, by the time you look at the enormity of the load of the task at hand, sometimes you even crush under it before even starting the journey. So as we're going to talk about resolutions tonight, let's take baby steps. We cannot make Monrovia, Dubai overnight. So let's take this baby step. You talk about the youth in the street called Zogos. You cannot target maybe achieving their rehabilitation in the next 6 months.
Yeah, and Mr. Ja, what I was trying to say to that was to say how all of us can define it in our private ways, right? So if I decide that they say, you know what, I want to support 2, right? Again, I'm talking about baby steps. I know that in 10 years, probably you can solve the problems with our brothers and sisters in the street, but guess what? Maybe I can support 2 right in the little yard where my parents live, where I go. There are 2 kids from that yard that have become affected by this, that maybe I can support. Maybe that is practical, giving my resources and what I can do, right? But who knows what impact those 2, if I succeed, who knows what impact they might have on their other friends that they hang out with. So you're right. We don't want to take this on that we can do, but maybe I can support 2 for the whole year. Maybe I'm able to commit to that. So like you said, you're right. Baby steps, practical things that make sense that you can achieve.
All right. We have people calling in already. So let's get this started. And my big resolution for the year, and it's going to be broad, people call and be very specific, is I want for our thinking to shift the things that we put premium on as a people. Right now, if you are, and entertainment is good and other things are very good, but they have their place. So within this time, we should not be thinking that all our issues will be solved politically, political solutions. Each of us, we should go into our own area of our professional background and do the little we can. Even though running for mayor or running for the representative is attractive and is getting the big name recognition, but if I'm an engineer and I know how to make something, it could be a bridge or it could be even a coal pot. Because our people have been burning this coal for so long, and there is a way that I can engineer it, that can make it cheaper, that we are not burning a lot of wood. As an engineer, let me do that little piece and let me promote it. Let me talk about it. Don't be an engineer, you go on a show and every day you're talking about politics. Don't be a doctor and every day what you are talking about is something else, because politics now is attractive. So each of us, my own personal goal is who I am professionally. Let me be able to make that attractive so that other youth looking at me can look at me and say, I want to be a talk show host because I see Dennis and he's doing it very well. And that's all I talk about. I admire people who go like, we have some sisters that talk about advocacy, women's rights. Some talk about the rape issue, and that's at their core, and that's all they promote. If each of us in our own little area continue to do that, maybe, just maybe, that little area will be attractive and politicians alone will not be getting all the attention.
I fully agree. And I think what I'm thinking about is somewhat actually connected to what you just talked about, Mr. John. My resolution when it comes to Liberia is for Liberians to be willing to acknowledge and accept who we are and what we've come through. Let's learn to appreciate our experiences. People think bad experiences are just supposed to be wiped away and washed away to not want to be identified with. But in fact, it is bad experiences that actually polishes you to know the contrast between what should be done and not be done. Is because you've seen the other side of it. so you can clearly appreciate the other side. And I'm saying this because as Liberians, Mr. Ja, every time we talk about ourselves in comparison to other people. We never talk about ourselves for the value for who we are, right? We appreciate other people who do well. We appreciate other people who are progressing in what they do. But we need to acknowledge if we live in a Zing house, if I live in a Zing house, I need to acknowledge and appreciate that it is this Zing house that is covering my head from the sun and the rain. And then I can set my goals and be like, you know what? I need to work hard and, to make sure I don't remain in the Zing house, because clearly it's not the most comfortable. But I can be in the Zing house and I tell people, say, this nasty Zing house. Why am I going to be in the Zing house? Why am I even living here? I shouldn't be here. And then at night, I go to bed and sleep in the same. So I think as Liberians, we need to come to terms of acknowledging who we are and then using our story of difficulty, especially over the last few decades that we've gone through, to say, here's why we need to aspire to more. Because of our struggles and our challenges, we should be stronger to even forge forward.
Wow, that is profound, because even the psychologists will tell you before you solve a problem, it starts with acknowledging that problem. So if you acknowledge it, then you can take steps to solve it. But if we don't even want to realize who we are and where we are at a point in our life, how can we even move forward? If you don't think you live in a zinc shack, how will you even fight to move from there? An old man told me, say, he said, well, it depends, whatever you are. If you lie that you're a hunter, right? And you lie that you kill deer, well, when your wife cooked the soup, it will show.
We would see the meat in the soup and know the man brought a deer home. Because the only thing you can do, Mr. Ja, the only person you can truly lie to is yourself. That's the only person you can really lie to. In the end, if you are who you are, people like to run away from the history of the war, Ebola and stuff. I know, I actually attach myself to it because it keeps me grounded. And I hope that can be the resolution they say for us to say, you know what? It is because of this type of bloody war that we went through, that we destroyed our country, that I'm going to commit to not forget it, to use it as my foundation for knowing what we ought to be doing as a people so that we never again fall back into that trap. But if you just ignore it, you could be doing the same things that will lead you back to it, but in your mind, you're like, yeah, who cares? The war finished, man. We don't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. And one thing that we have ignored over the years, and when you say that, you sometimes get in trouble.
No.
Country, Congo divide.
Yes.
It's like you can tell someone that, hey, you're a Pele man, it's fine. But if you tell someone you're a Congo man, then it means you
got trouble.
Problem that exists and we don't acknowledge it, we sweep that. But the same people that say when they go in their little corners, they say those things. They know those things exist, but they don't confront it. And so that problem keep persisting.
And you're right, Mr. Ja, because if you look at the way of life, right? Here is the interesting thing. You go down to Joploken or you go to Zogowi or you go to Vonjama, and somebody who's never seen Morovia comes to town, fortunate enough, maybe get a good employment, whether in government, out of government. The moment they do that, right? The first thing they do is want to build a 6-foot fence, build a big house, put 5 German Shepherds around it, and then go to the same Vonjaman that they came from, take their nieces and nephew, bring them to town and treat them as house boys and house girls to work for them, right? And then we refuse to accept that the mentality of this native Congo divide is alive and real. In fact, in more difficult ways now, because it's not at the macro level. At first, it was more about the political level only, but now it's even more dangerous because where it is, and we're not willing to accept again who we are. I bring it back to that point that this is who we are. We need to discuss it, and we need to realize that regardless of your background, whether you came to the Americo-Liberian side or you came from Vonjaman town, you landed to where it's Liberia today generationally now. All of our people migrated from somewhere at some point. It's just a matter of who came first and when. So we need to accept that we are Liberians and Liberians first. Regardless of the subcultural breakdown, let it be something to celebrate and not something to divide us.
All right, we have our first caller, but he dropped off. Now, Sam Wallow. Sam, we want you to call in. We're not going to be reading comments. Call in. And let's hear the long ones. Sam Waller is saying, my New Year resolution for Liberia is that Liberian media understands the significant duty it has in influencing the right and kind of change in Liberia's future body politics and takes a more mature approach to reporting news and exposing unethical and unfit individuals seeking public office. That's what he wants to see change in Liberia, the media.
Which is a very, very, very tricky one.
So Sam, we want you to call in because we want to ask you more, give us more details of how, and we also spoke about how this can be achieved, you know, how we're taking baby steps. So when you call, we're able to ask you so that you can give us more, because people watch this from now, even 10 years down the road, and see to what extent those things that the problem that existed at the beginning of 2021, how we can come back, you know, December 31st, 2021, and see to what extent those issues are being addressed. Mm-hmm. So Sam, go ahead, call in. Again, the number is on the screen. Please call and share with us your resolution for the year.
Yeah, that's it. And it's funny because when you even see this thing, I hope Sam can call in at some point, because you like for people to provide context. Sometimes it's not possible to provide context in these long texts, right? But again, we ask questions like, how do you achieve this, right? I hear somebody saying that reporting and exposing unethical people running for office, right? Like, is it the media? Is that what you mean, the media? Is it the media's job to just report the news, or is the media job to say this person is ethical, this person is unethical? And you know, who draws that line to be able to really say that? Or is it the media's job to just, and which news do you, because we all want the media to report different things. When you talk to people all the time, I say, when you talk to people, certain people are happy with what the media is reporting, certain people are not happy at every time, regardless of what the incident is. So maybe, Sam, it would be great if you can call and give us some more context about what you're talking about.
Exactly. We have a caller on the line here. That's Jackie Sayer. Jackie, you are live on Focus on Liberia. What's your resolution?
Hello, Dennis, and hello, Mr. Johnson. Yeah, I've been listening to you guys, and it's such a great topic, you know, and so timely. Of course, we all have personal resolutions. You know, I've written mine down. Dennis, I'm using my planner, so I've written mine down. But I always think that, you know, personal resolution should be private because it's a contract with yourself. So if you break the contract, you will be in trouble with yourself. But my resolution for Liberia and for my attitude towards Liberia this year is for me to lift up Liberia in every way. So I will promote the good. I will pray and I will work against the bad. And I will try and work to help our country achieve its fullest potential. And for me, that is helping to fix the educational system in the country. It's also working towards the elimination of sexual and gender-based violence, and to foster and nurture the arts for development. I think we all have a duty to help our country move forward. And my resolution this year is to help in every way I can. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Just hold on 1 minute, because I like how you made yourself part of it, right? You are not giving the resolution for somebody else to carry out, but it's yourself.
No.
This is what I want to see, and that's very important.
Yeah, because I think that, you know, if I say, oh, change this or change that, that is outside my control. I can hope for that, but it may or may not happen. So as you say, it's baby steps. So if each one of us make a personal resolution for Liberia and work towards it, we will reach our goal. So the resolution for Liberia is my resolution for Liberia, that I will try this year and lift Liberia up in every way I can.
Yeah, Jackie, I think that's a very, very important point. And I think one of the things I hear coming through your statement is accountability. You're basically saying, instead of running away from saying, oh, because the people did not do this, you'll be able to clearly tell yourself, you were supposed to do X, Y, Z. And another thing I also hear coming for you clearly, Jackie, when you talk about lifting Liberia up, is the example that when Mr. Jab meets somebody for the first time and introduce himself, he doesn't go around saying, oh, I've gotten 10 driving tickets before. he doesn't say all of the unfortunate things that have happened in his life first. You introduce yourself, oh, I'm Dennis Jai, I'm a family man, I went to this school. It's like when you write your autobiography, you outline all the great things you've done. You don't put the unfortunate ones there. And I think when we look at our country, I think, like to your point, Jackie, that should be an important thing. Yes, we have issues, right? But how do we want to be perceived? Do we want to be perceived as only the people who only have issues? and nothing positive? It's just all problems? Or do we want to put our good foot forward? And then the people who want to work with us as partners can now start to learn about our challenges so they can work with us to help solve them.
And that is important, Jackie.
Yes, because they say, they say that, you say from your lips to God's ears. So if we lift Liberia up, God will make it true and he will help us. So I firmly believe that, if you sell yourself for 1 cent, people will buy you for 1 cent. But if you lift yourself up for $10 million, that will be your price. So let's try and raise the Liberia's price. Let's try and lift Liberia up. I will go off the air now.
Jackie, before you go off the air, I want you to hear this before you leave. There's a political side to what you are saying, because depending on who is in power and who is the opposition side, people want certain things, right? Because if you are in favor of the government in power and people are criticizing, you say, oh man, all the things you reported bad news about your country, you should be the one to say the positive one. The next time when you're on the other side, then you say something else. So that's the political side of your resolution that I just wanted to, if you can speak to that briefly before you leave.
Yes, I mean, when I meet people and people always say to me, you've been in this country so long, but when you say I'm going home, it's always Liberia, as it should be. So for me, I would say that, like Leo said, you're not going to say, oh, I'm from Liberia. Somebody says, oh, and start listing all the bad things. Of course, you're going to jump in and say no. So why should you be the one to say I'm from a place that is bad? No, you lift yourself up and you lift the country up. And as you lift the country up, other people start doing it, follow the leader, and things will be well. I firmly believe that things will be well in Liberia.
Thank you, Jackie. Let me get our next caller, Kesely Double. And Jackie, just to say, it was based on that focus on Liberia was born, because all people heard about Liberia was, oh, Ebola, or the war. You have a female president. You were founded, but I'm not saying having a female president is bad, but there's more to Liberia than that. So we wanted to excavate that. Kesely Double, you are live.
Happy New Year, Mr. Jack. And happy New Year to your studio guest.
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. And thanks for allowing me the time on your platform again today. Another year, another challenge.
Exactly.
And my resolution for Liberia would be how best and how well we all as Liberians can fight this disease called corruption. Corruption is the most deadly disease that is destroying Liberia. And if we as Liberians...
All participants are muted and they can unmute themselves.
And if we as Liberians can just put together, pushing aside politics, pushing aside political party difference, and just start to say, hey, let's try this thing, I think we can have a better Liberia. But with corruption on our hands, no matter how well we try to push Liberia forward, no matter how best we try to say Liberia will do this, Liberia will do that, manna is not going to come from heaven like before to fall down on our laps. We have to do it, and we have to be determined that we as Liberians actually want to see it happening and not taking sides. And I think if we do that, we can have a better Liberia from 2021 forward.
I just had a
challenge.
I had a little question for you, Mr. Doba, Mr. Jai, before you come, because you raised a very, if not the hottest topic of all times in Liberia, what you just raised. So my question to you, Mr. Doba, as an individual, right? How do you see someone like yourself, and in your own weak way? How do you see someone like yourself contributing towards and minimizing? I like to say minimize, because no society has been successful on the face of the earth to completely eliminate corruption. So how do you see yourself as an individual in your own weak way as a Liberian contributing towards that elimination or the reduction of corruption?
All right, Leo, thank you very much for the question. It's a very good one. When it comes to discussing the issue of corruption in Liberia, every one of us takes sides. All of us take sides because we are benefiting one way or the other. if my brother is in a position, and because he's benefiting, I'm benefiting indirectly or somehow directly, whenever people are talking about corruption on him, I try to support him because I'm getting the benefit of his corrupt attitude. If I'm a part of an organization, like a political party that I'm part of, and my leader is involved in the corrupt act, the moment someone says your leader did this, instead of me doing my own investigation and telling people how well we can push forward to prosecute my leader and let's find an end to it, guess what? I take sides because he's my leader.
Yeah.
And I think we need to put end to this. We need to put stop to it. If we really want to fight this thing, we have to fight this thing, all of us, regardless of who you are, like I said. Even if he's my brother and he's falling in the act of corruption, I think let the law take its course. Let's do it. Let's follow the law and let's see how far we can go with it. It is hard. I know it is tough. It is very hard. It's going to be challenging. But I think if we start to do it gradually, bit by bit, we can get somewhere. Other than that, I mean, we can discuss all the things we want to discuss. As much as corruption is systemic and it is embedded within our system, it is not going to work. We can infuse all the money we want to infuse from the West here. We can do all the donations. As much as we keep supporting our leaders that we identify who are corrupt, we keep supporting them, it will be a useless cause.
Thank you, Kesali. And it's very important that you said that each of us, and you give an example of the leader, right? Corruption is in different forms, without besides stealing money. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, and one area that you see is take for instance, if we are in a group and we are fighting, let's say we are either on the government side or we are on the opposition side, you see problem with one of your members. You see that the person is completely off the cuff when it comes to addressing people. You see what they are doing is wrong, but because the two of you are united in fighting one person, you cannot tolerate that corruption because your goal is to first get rid of your common target. So yeah, it's very important that you said that. But if each of us will call a spade, no matter which side we on, Professor Lumumba said, we own our thieves. Because if the thief is from your tribe, then you can't prosecute that thief. Most of the time, especially during the second term of President Sirleaf, where we were all criticizing the legislators for being bad, taking huge salaries. But what happens? If the legislator from your district come to visit you, you pile around with that legislator and even holding conferences, calling town hall meetings for that legislator. That legislator is not corrupt, is the other guy. Or the legislator from the other district, not from my district.
Exactly.
So thank you so much.
Thank you too.
All right. Let me take the next caller, Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, your resolution.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, James.
Hey, Dennis, and it's Happy New Year to you too, Leo.
Happy New Year, Jimmy.
I like the topic because every year it gives you an opportunity to set a goal, to set an objective. Goal is your target, and your objective is how you get to your goal. And what has been discouraging me in the past, I've always gotten frustrated when I go and I see that things are so complicated in a way that you have to hand out, the processes are not working, and so you kind of want to take caution because things are not operating the same. But I am encouraged when I see, despite the challenges we have, I can see that Liberians are beginning to use a little more critical thinking. And I say that because somebody who is not giving out money is becoming successful. Their message now is no longer about what I can get, but a more message of hope and people striving to do things right. So my resolution is to set an example like that. Even if I'm in telecommunications, I can build a new network there, but there's so much red tape over there. It's unbelievable. So my resolution is not to give up hope, not to be discouraged by the difficulties and the challenges ahead, but look for, just like you said, look for the small victories. Look for ways I can make an impact. If it's only to a child, if it's only to teach a class, well, then let me just do that. But each and every contribution is something. And if you persevere, it may be challenging and you may have to be very brave at times. But if you have a sincere motive, then you will make an impact on others.
Great.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I think those are some very, very good points. And the small victories you talk about, say, even if you can do a virtual lecture for a little workshop on things that you're seeing gaps in the country or so, right? Like you're so right. The problems are unbelievable. And that is the reason why we need to find a way to break it down to practical baby steps for ourselves. So that at the end of the day, Jimmy is not sitting there and scratching his head going, I really want to do this, but I don't have the capacity. What can we do while we seek the type of capacity and the type of platforms we need? What can we be doing in our weak ways to make sure we're contributing?
Thank you.
Definitely. Good cause.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay. Let me bring in Dave Ja. That's my brother. Dave, full disclosure.
That's a good one.
Hey, Dave, you are Happy New Year. You are live. What's your resolution?
Okay. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, Dave.
Okay, I'm so delighted. I hope this new year will be better than the past one. That's my hope for this year. And as the others have said, I think this is a very important topic. And you know, I come from a psychology background, so I always like to take a psychological approach to things, which I believe if we incorporate in all that we do, definitely we are out for success. So find suggestions from all those that I've listened to. And one thing that I will like to, for us as Liberians, and also especially those who find themselves in positions of authority or leadership, not necessarily government leadership, but you can be in a church, can be in a school, even as the head of the family. One major thing I would like for us Liberians to also do is how do we help to improve or develop the Liberian self-concept. I think that is key. And in whatever work we try to do, even if it is for giving donations, building schools, one of the primary reasons for which we as Liberians also want to do that is how do we psychologically empower Liberians? How do we build their esteem, their self-esteem or their self-concept? I think something like that Dr. Sawyer was alluding to, but he, from a political standpoint, when he talked about a nationalistic orientation, but also I want for us Liberians to also help develop the psyche of the Liberian people. And that can be done in two ways. All of us have some internal, our own intrinsic motivation. We have something internal about ourselves that make us feel good about ourselves. That is from within us, but also from the environment in which we live. It can help us bolster our own self-concept. And I want us Liberians, and especially those who find themselves in leadership positions, to do that. And how do we do it?
Right.
Have respect for the Liberian people.
Mm-hmm.
I can still go ahead. And have respect for the Liberian people. Let them also be part of the solution process. Let them be part of the solution process. Some of the solutions that we are looking for in Liberia can be found within the country itself, within the people, amongst the people. Let us not come with these tailor-made, arrangements, these remotely made solutions. The people themselves have some of those solutions, and this is how we can empower them. Ask them questions. How do they do it? And let's give the Liberian people credit. And another thing is, let us, in as much international communities and all of these people can help us, but there is more that Liberians can do for themselves if we just empower them, if we just respect them, if we just ask them questions. The little ways they know how to do things, we can incorporate those kind of things into our own way of solving problems. And that will help. And we will stop this kind of self-deprecating, self-disrespectful attitude that and we don't even look within ourselves for solutions. I was disappointed, maybe you guys might think I'm becoming political, but I was disappointed when even the president, he wins an election and the first place he goes, maybe will be to India, to China, to France, and all of that. Yes, these people might give you money, but there is a lot of money you can also find in Burgundy. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of resources that you can find from the people. So again, my resolution for us Liberians is how we can, in our own little way, develop a very healthy self-concept for Liberians. That will make us to regard ourselves and our own people. Yeah.
Yeah, just hold on a point, because before, and Leo and I were talking about this before the show, that Leo even gave an example that the authentic country club is from Liberia, but we prefer buying the fake one from Nigeria. And it ties into what you were saying. Leo, you said that. So
yeah, that was true. I was just telling Mr. Jar, right? If you think about the mindset, how we actually switch it around. And it goes to our leaders as well. Because our leaders would prefer, people from Liberia would prefer flying to Nigeria or to Ghana. And most of the time, when I even end up with the original, might end up with a print version of it. When the truth is, right in Vonyama, though people can weave that thing for you from the original cotton and the material that is supposed to be. And it will be so unique because it will be one made. You are not finding any store in Nigeria or Ghana, but we would prefer abandoning that and taking something else out of this fact that we have refused to work with what we've got, when everything we need most of the time we already have it, but because we have not perceived the value of it, we're chasing everything else out there and devaluing what is sitting right before our eyes.
So that's a very good point.
And that is,
but Dave, how do we do this now? Give us some practical steps and how you can help.
First, it starts with acknowledgement. Acknowledge the people that they have values. Acknowledge people that they have something to bring to the table, that they have something to contribute. And whatever solution that you think you can provide, if you engage with them, they will generate those ideas, and you can mingle your own idea with them as well. Right. So that's one. Consult with the people. Have respect for them. Talk to them in a very respectful way. Ask them how have they been doing it? How can you be part of that process? How can you be part of the solution? Okay. And the next thing, let our focus should also be with Liberians themselves. Ask some Liberian expert if we ask them about their own solutions. Incorporate them. Don't just and sometimes I feel ashamed sometimes. You have the head of the nation going to maybe India so that they can give, then he will take some bosses and all of that. When you do that, the people, their entire focus is like, our solutions is out, it's elsewhere.
Yeah.
I know, I mean, we need that interconnectedness, support from elsewhere and all of that. But you have to bring some values also to the table. And there's something that we can bring to the table. We have something that other people outside need.
That's true.
They need something from us. Let us not always go there like we are at the receiving end. We are the most helpless group of people. We have something to contribute to the world. And when we showcase it, people will even respect us more. We will not always look up to other people to do everything for us. And it's even the little children, even in our house, let us communicate with them in a very, in a respectful way. Interact with them. They too have some solutions that they can bring to the table. Whoever you call Zoko or whatever, they too have some solutions to bring on the table. Don't think that because they are in dungeons or they are helpless, they have no idea as to how to solve problems. All we need to do is interact with them, incorporate them in the solution process. So that's my resolution for Liberia, for the coming ages, and I will endeavor to also be part of that process.
Thank you, Dave.
So thank you guys, and again, Happy New Year, and God bless you all.
Thank you. The story is told of when Dave said even the little child will have a way of solving the problem. Involve them, ask them. Yeah. Don't just say that big people think shut up.
Yeah.
Right. They said there's a bus, there was a car that was coming from I think ROIA way there, and they were passing through, and it was near Catherine Mills Rehab Center, and then the tires. All the tire, I think one tire just flew away, and all the boats, they couldn't find them. So they found the tire, but they couldn't get the boats. So this person at Catherine Mill told them, well, since you have, the other 3 tires are there, take one boat from each of those tires, and you can use that.
And you can balance the equation pretty much.
Yeah, and this was the guy who in our Liberian setting we consider crazy.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, Mr. Jai, is like you're trying to design toys, right? And you're asking 40-year-old people. If you're trying to design toys, you know who the end user is going to be for children's toys, right? So the experts on that matter, you should be trying to garner the opinions of children because they would be the one to tell their mommy and daddy, I want that one and not that one.
Exactly. Let me bring our next caller. That's Willie DeLong. Willie, you are live. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year, Dennis. And Happy New Year to your...
That's Leo.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Willie. Go ahead. Have a Happy New Year.
Okay. Well, Happy New Year to you both. Yeah, I was calling in because I just wanted to express my point of view towards the New Year's resolution, man. I'm just glad to be alive to see this new year. Looking forward as far as to our country, man, my resolution is to just, get more involved, and be a part of the change, be the change that you want to see in our country. So as far as the youth, a lot of, I feel like it is our time to start to express how we feel and get more into it and empower our people. So that would mean either economically, just strive to build bridges, between our people in Liberia and our people here in the United States. Or in the diaspora, not just the United States. There is a distrust that exists between the people there. They're suspicious towards us, and they have a cause to be. And, sometimes our people, too, do not have as much confidence in the people there as well. So one of my New Year's resolutions, too, is to strive to, build a bridge, just form productive alliances that will lead to progress in our country, man. As for me, I've lived here for a long time, and I've seen a lot, like you and your other host, your co-host. We've seen a lot, and we would want to see the positive things that we see here in our country. But I truly believe that it would not happen unless we get involved, roll our sleeves up, and jump into it. So, that's my New Year's resolution. I feel that we all have skills, we all have something that we can contribute, regardless of, a lot of times we point to the wrongs that we see, but there is a lot of good as well. And I think sometimes you have to concentrate on the strengths instead of the weaknesses. And the more you guys do that, is the more that the positive will grow. So that was what I would like to see going into the new year. And I pray that we all, young people, old people, the old guard, the new guard, that we all work together for a better Liberia.
So Mr. DeLong, you talk about the distrust or that dichotomy between those in Liberia and those in the diaspora. So just to make it more explicit, what is the impact that mistrust or that divide is causing?
All right, let me make sure I understand your question. You want to know what is the impact of the divide?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, to me, is manyfold. It's on different levels. The impact is on the economic level. It could be on a social level as well. And on the economic level, I would say people look at the remittances that are sent back to the country and say, well, the people in the diaspora, they're doing a lot to help. But there is even more that can be done, right? So if you look at countries like China, if you look at countries like Israel, the diaspora actually they were a major part of the development process that we see today. So I think that the diaspora is a major force that needs to be harnessed by the government in Liberia. But we ourselves here too have to realize, have to wake up and see that we can bring about that change. If you think about it, right? Think about how many Liberians that have 401ks, that have equity in homes, right? Those are all sources of investment that could be used to spur the agricultural development that we want back home, the industrial development that we see back home. But how would someone here do that? They won't do that unless they felt that there would be a return in investment and the investment would be secure. We don't see that in our country. So an effort has to be made to create that trust on the side of the government towards any investment that goes on into the country. At the same time, too, excuse me?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the
Uh-oh. I think we lost him. All right. Leo, so we heard a lot of resolutions.
Yeah, we did.
Well, what's your take?
I just have a few things just as I was hearing people. I was just jotting some very great points that they were making. Like the previous caller, Mr. Jai, your brother that spoke, Dave Jai, I think that's his name. I just wanted to drill down something he touched on, the issue of how our leaders, lead the charge in doing this. And when we say leaders, people often go straight to the president and the political leaders, right? They don't think the pastors in our churches are leaders, the imams in our mosques, they are leaders, the traditional chiefs, they are leaders, the youth groups, they are leaders. I'm talking about leaders at all sectors. I'll give an example. Look, President Weah started sporting this whole propose suit business. All of a sudden, every tailor in Liberia can sew propose suit and sell it now. It's sellable because everybody wants, and I love them. Since I started wearing propose suit, you have no idea. They're just authentic, and they can go for casual and formal in any way, shape, or form. But you saw the wave of it all of a sudden because the president prioritized it as his official dress most of the time when you see him. People felt higher height suit, right? From President Tolbert. All of a sudden, there was a time where higher high suit became the thing, only because President Tolbert used to sport it. So I think this is where our leaders too can leverage these opportunities to be the ones to send that message across. But just the things they use and how they use it make us want to use it as well.
And you forgot, Leo, the zombie dance.
Oh yeah, exactly. President Weah did the zombie dance. All of a sudden, yeah, people were talking about that song, but now the whole country, the whole diaspora is discussing the zombie song because President, the same way he did with what I want, Jumbo Way.
Yeah.
Now everybody mimics President Weah dance when they go to parties and that song come up. It let people just wake up just in the memory that the president danced that song as well. Yeah. So these are practical ways, because we say 50% of leadership is symbolism, right? The things that the people see their leaders do. And also, Willard Dillon struck a very key point: the distrust and divide between the diaspora and people back home. I want to appeal to my brothers and sisters in the diaspora here, right? Let us stop this condescending approach towards our brothers and sisters, because they haven't had opportunities to the type of things that we've been exposed to. Let's not overlook them. Let's stop treating them as our servants. Instead, let's treat them as our partners. What we need to do, we need to come down off our high horses and try to meet our brothers and sisters where they are, right? If you go to Liberia and the only thing the man knows how to do is to sell rice by cup, don't condemn it. And don't tell him, oh, this is going nowhere, this is nothing. And you start to tell him to do things that he himself does not understand. Let's say, okay, how can we work with you in this rice you're selling by cup? And but I also have some suggestions that maybe we can learn together for you to improve from selling rice by cup. But I see many times we're trying to replace when we get there, and instead we talk down the things that have allowed our brothers and sisters to survive, the things that are making the economy run. We need to say, you know what, let's appreciate this. Let's understand it. Let's meet them where they are. And then let's start to do the hard work of working together to improve.
Yeah, that is true. And that diaspora and back home divide. And one way we try to kind of make that very strong is the way we try to make ourselves as the solutions, as you said. We try to even and forget about just on a one-to-one level. Okay, you have a family member and they are in a dispute, and they call you, they want you to settle that dispute because you are in America. There are sometimes they are going to vote and they call you and say, who should we vote for? So anytime you put yourself in a position of providing those kind of answers, you are maybe unknowingly imposing yourself as the solution, as the God for them. And mind you, if you don't put power back into their hands, even though they may listen to you because of the economic sway you hold over them, but they're going to resent you later on because they don't see themselves again as being in power. They don't see themselves as fathers anymore, but they have become your child, your children now. Yeah. So the way we try to solve problems, we may have the right solutions, we may have the heart to actually do it for them, but in the process, we have to show them the way how to do it, even if you're helping them.
Yeah, but also, Mr. Jato, I have a point, right? For example, like you're saying, right? I load a container of computers and laptops and blah, blah, and say, I want to start a business in Liberia, right? I send a container to my brother. And I tell my brother, I need you to sell all those laptops and send the money back so I can put you in business because I want to help you. Here's what I didn't think through. Does my brother know business? Right. Does my brother know finance? Has he ever done anything around that? I make the assumption, I put that kind of heavy thing on his shoulder and expect that he should deliver. When my brother go try to deliver now, things don't work out. And he was not able to sell it the way he was. And sometimes not because he did anything bad or wrong. Right. It's just because he does not have the experience of being a business person. And then I blame him and said, oh, people are not serious. I loaded a whole 40-foot of container with brand new laptops. I sent it to Liberia and they wasted it. They don't know how.
And because we have not tried to even help them, I was having a conversation. So I have a sister-in-law and she was telling me, oh, I want your brother to send me $300. Let me sell Doka Flare. You want to sell used clothes? So I say, how much is it? He said, $300. I said, are you sure? He said, yes. So, okay. I said, he said, the bag is $300. I said, okay, so if you get the bag, how are you going to get to the market? If you get to the market, you need a table to sell it. How much does that cost?
How you pay for the spot?
Yeah, how you pay for the spot. Now, after selling for that day, you're going to come back or you're going to put this into storage. How are you going to pay for that storage? So when we did the math, actually what she needed was like $500 if she wanted to do that business. But we don't help them. So if you send that $300 to get the bag, now they can't do anything else. So they have to go back into that money and start using it to sustain the business. So it breaks down. Now there is distrust. You spoil my money. I'm not doing anything. Those people are not serious. because we don't try to walk them through the process so that they get an understanding of what they are engaging in. We're just waiting, okay, we have the solution. I gave you this, you didn't do it right, no more, and that's it. So we impose ourselves. And now, and also to Dave's point, this whole connection about international community. I don't know, do you hear that name in Canada, international community?
Doesn't exist
on the radio?
It doesn't exist. Not even in a political conversation.
So there is no community as such. Every country is for its.
But Mr. Jai, here's the problem. We can talk about the international community as if we are not a part.
Yeah.
The collective international community, we are a part. But again, it's the whole dependency syndrome.
Yeah.
Where we believe that somebody else out there is better than us. And because they're better than us, they should be the one to come and deal with our problems. Right? You're right. Nobody talks about international community in Canada. When the people issues come out here, in fact, they frown sometimes on the prime minister here because he went and tried to solve the Canadian issue somewhere else in another country to try and involve another country. People frown on it here and say, why are we not worried and focus on our healthcare system? Why are we not focused on our education system? Why are we worried about other people coming in here to do stuff?
There was a political, I think during a political campaign, a certain presidential candidate went to a place and ordered sandwich, right? And they asked him for the cheese. And he said, Swiss cheese. That became a big deal.
You
ordering American cheese instead of Swiss cheese.
Well, I'll give you, yeah, go ahead.
But for us, anything connected with outside Liberia is better.
Yeah.
So if you have a church, if that church does not have a branch in America, it's no church. And so because of that now, every church you have to put the word international behind it. If there's a school, international, because it's that connection that validates you. Yeah. So we ourselves, and I wrote an article long ago that said civilization the way we knew it, right? The way we knew civilization, one of it was to travel outside. Yep. So if you got your education from Liberia, it was not good enough. Yep. If you were educated, civilized, or whatever you did, if you had no traveling experience, it was not good enough. To the extent that people that travel as slaves when they came back, talking about those who went to Fernandopo.
Were treated as royals.
Exactly. I'm from the Southeast. You have people that work with the ship in Ghana, in Ivory Coast, in Nigeria. When they came back, man, Sierra Leone, when you come back, you are a royal. Okay, so civilization meant outside. So anything outside Liberia is always better. And it is that mentality that is killing. And we have the solutions right there in Liberia.
Yeah, and one quick example of making Canada, right? There's this guy running to be prime minister years back in one of the elections, Michael Ignatieff. He was the most qualified in the race. In fact, by consensus, most Canadians agreed that this guy was the most qualified in the race. The one problem he had was he spent all his life working in the UN system. He was one of the atomic inspectors. They used to go from like country to country, Iraq and many other countries to inspect. So he spent most of his career as an international UN diplomat. So because he was the only reason that people did not vote for him was they said they were not convinced that he had enough local Canadian experience to be prime minister, that he had a good understanding of the issues locally since, in fact. And this man was living in Canada. It's just that he worked not within the Canadian local system. He worked in the international, he was permanently living in Canada and the US, between Canada and the US. But the people refused to vote in prime minister. And everybody you ask, they will tell you, because they were not convinced that the argument his opponent used that word, that they were not convinced he had enough local contextual experience in Canada to become the prime minister.
Let's take our last caller, and we're going to be closing the broadcast. Call out your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, so it's me again, man, Willie. I'm sorry, I was on the phone and my phone just sort of dropped the call.
Oh, okay, Willie.
Yeah, Willie Dillon.
Yeah, Willie, go ahead. Complete your thought.
Yeah, so we were talking about the diaspora, and I was saying that the diaspora is a force that can be harnessed to bring about true development in our country, sort of like what your brother was saying, that we need to find a way to find development or bring about development from within ourselves, so within our own country, instead of reaching to these other countries. I think a source of that could be the diaspora. We've seen examples in other countries that have done it, and namely, like I said before, China or even Israel. But also, I feel that we too in the diaspora, we have to reach out, send the olive branch out towards the people in the country too, and build their trust and show them that we're not just here to come in, exploit what we can exploit, and come and pay our mortgages in America. We have to go the extra mile to show them that we are a part of your struggle, and we want the same things that you want. We want a better future for our children, just like you want, and we're willing to work towards whatever you're willing to work towards to bring about a better future for this place. So I think it's a double-edged sword, and we both have a role to play. And I think if we can get that right, we can truly forge our country in a new direction, and it'll be the type of development that'll be homegrown. It'll be something that's authentically Liberian and not dictated to us from outside. So I think that at present, to answer your question more specifically, at present, the impact of the diaspora is not at its full potential. And I think that it could grow to be something that's more beautiful, something that could be more progressive than what it is, instead of just being a disconnect and two people from the same origin distrusting each other. I think that is counterproductive, and we can turn it into something that's productive.
Thank you. That's very true. That's very important.
Your man Moses will get value in that call.
Okay, Moses, you can go ahead and call. We are about to close.
All right, Willie.
All right.
Yeah, you can.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
If he's not aligned, something Werner just said, Mr. Jawad just said, I say to people all the time, right? If we can find a way to go to Liberia and have a good time, then we can find a way to bring about solutions. You know, there's people are not afraid when they save their live vacation money and they're going to Liberia for vacation. They can be in these nightclubs and bars having a great time, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock. It doesn't scare them that maybe there is a problem wrong in the country, right? But the moment we come to the conversation about development and other things now, everybody find it impossible to do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can understand how we can go to this country, have a good time, do whatever we want, but in the same breath then say, no, it's impossible for anything to work in the country, that we have to wait. Since the government is not leading, then we can lead. I'm like, okay, the government will come and go. We will still be here. So we better start finding a way to make life possible in this country, that regardless of which government comes or go, we need to find a way to keep living, because Liberia will outlast every government.
And why is it that, and we sometimes discuss this on our business economic forum, as to why is it that other people are finding a way and we can't?
That's
all right. So if the
Nigerians, the Ghanaians, the Sierra Leoneans, and let's leave out the Westerners. Let's work within the sub regions. These guys come to Liberia and they find a way to understand the system. What any business person who know how to do business, when you go into a country, the first thing you do is you study the lay of the land, and you use leverage the systems as they are to get what you want.
The foolers do that.
The foolers, and they come broke. At least they most of the time they come broke. So they don't even come with the capital in their pocket. They own when they come.
And then when you go to the West, those big capitalists, what do? They look for even the troubled regions. That's where they make money.
That's why they make more money, because
the higher the risk,
the taxation less. The higher the risk, the greater the profit.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's how we're going to be drawing down the curtain. So finally, we can as we close on this whole idea of our resolution for Liberia. Liberia again is the only country we have. You know, we have had about around 25 presidents, and as you said, presidents come and go, but the only group that's still here, that's us. And if we cannot figure a way out, in spite of who's in power, to do something, because individually we are going and we are building our personal homes. We are going to Liberia, as you said, we're having good times. I can't wait to go back to Liberia and at least go to Cape Mount, Bomi. I've never traveled that side. I want to see what it looked like, you know, and still find a way. People are buying farmlands, and we can do the same. And we may not agree with the government, but I do not believe that every person in the government just decide to be bad and wicked and doesn't want anything positive happening. In spite, wherever they are, there is still that one guy who wants something done, who goes to work and makes sure that things work out better. So if we can find that one guy, even though the rest of the people we may not like, we may not agree with, we may believe they are corrupt, but there is that one guy who will say, okay, I will get it done for you. I think it behooves us to find that one spot and be able to do something positive, because nobody's waiting for us. Cuba was for how long, ever so long, since
consider a very primitive, underdeveloped place for everyone.
And while they were going through their struggles, they were being educated. Cuba was training doctors. Right now, school in Cuba is cheap. Zimbabwe, when their currency became worthless, what they exported outside was the educated people.
And Mr.
So
Jab,
they were going places.
Say when they have bad government. So they did all of this in spite of bad government.
Bad government. When after election, Mugabe said, you're not even announcing it. But still, these people, I talked to a Zimbabwean and said the way their remittances were from people who went to school in Zimbabwe, went outside, they were working there as doctors, professionals, and they were sending money back, and people were living on that. We can do the same in spite of whatever condition Liberia found itself in.
That's true. And even if you go further, even South Africa, all doing apartheid, right? All the racial or whatever, it did not stop the country. And you go to South Africa today, it's still, let's go to Nigeria, and that's not too far from us. The type of corruption people can talk about Nigeria, you think they can just buy Liberia. Some of the money needed, they can call for some of the corruption. I said, but guess what? A group of young Nigerians, Mr. Ja, worked their way, or one of whom I know very well personally worked with me, brought down Mark Zuckerberg to Lagos, to Nigeria. And Mark Zuckerberg, before he left from there, he did almost, I think, $20-something million contract over 5 years for them to produce apps for Facebook. Because, and, you know, so they have a small tech village in Nigeria producing. So I keep telling people, all of these countries that are just as corrupt, if not more corrupt than Liberia, the citizens in these countries have still found a way to make things happen most of the time in spite of the government corruption and everything, right? So how can we then sit and convince ourselves that Liberia will remain doomed until we get the right government? In fact, it's the other way around. It's the development and building of good citizenry that gives you a better shot at getting a good government. Because if you have more quality people within the citizenry that are willing to work hard, then you get a chance of them getting into leadership.
And I'll tell you a story about a lady who went to a medicine man to say, well, I want my husband to like me. So I want you to give me voodoo so my husband will like me and do whatever I say, you know. So the voodoo doctor said, okay, go and bring the saliva from a leper. Okay, so this lady went and found a way to put a leper to sleep. And while the leper was sleeping, was able to bring the saliva to the medicine man. And you know what the voodoo doctor told her? No. Said, if you can do this to a leper that can devour you in seconds, how much more to your husband?
It should be an easier job for you to get your husband to like you. Exactly.
If you can get saliva from and then you can get love from a man who depends on you to cook, clean for him.
Yeah, and to equate that example, Mr. Jad, that's what I told somebody one time, right? If we survive, Mr. Jad, 1990, survive April 6, we survive October 15, we survive September 18, we survive World War I, World War II, we survive Ebola. Mr. Jad, you're telling me that we are not able to figure out how to make our own country better in our own way in spite of the challenges in government?
And you were talking about that. If you survive Kamkola in Guinea.
Kamkola, exactly.
If you survive New Banga in Cote d'Ivoire, Buduburam in Ghana, Oru. When the Nigerians, when the Liberians got to Oru, when they got to Nigeria, they put them to an old college campus. It was teachers. They abandoned it because of witchcraft. They said people were dying, so they abandoned it. So when the Liberians, when they cleared the place, the Nigerians were just waiting to see how many of them were going to die because that place is inhabitable. And the Liberians survived it. I went and stayed on that camp for a couple of months.
But the same thing in Buduburam, they turned it into cities. Forget about just surviving. They created their own economy, their own markets, their own everything in that place.
And if we can do that, and because of that, And I still know that people that we stay together in Guinea that survive in Liberia, they are doing so well. Yeah. One of them who happens to be my former student is the former agriculture minister, Dr. Mugana Flomo.
Mugana Flomo, yeah.
I taught him in 10th grade Momu Refugee School.
Yeah.
So most of the people from Guinea, they're doing very well, because if you can survive Guinea where you don't see even an empty can anywhere, you cannot see a broken bottle anywhere, because everything has use.
Everything has value there. So yes. And then we come and convene. The same thing in the diaspora, Mr. John. Many of us who came from multiple refugee camps to get here. And then we say to ourselves, it's now possible for us to look at the Liberian community as I close maybe on this. Look at the Liberian community in the diaspora, Mr. John. Yeah, we're not suffering from corrupt government business. And we're not suffering from lack of systems. We're not, all the systems here work. In fact, even when the people elect Chris Person here as president or prime minister, their government systems, till your forms will be filled in on time. You'll get the paperwork on time. So if we are facing the same problem here, Mr. Jada, we can't even get a Liberian association to conduct a meeting without people fighting before the meeting ends. Then the problem is not just about government in Liberia. The problem is not just government. Then it's a bigger issue, because we ain't got government problem here. In fact, we got more resources available to us that we just need to try and access than ever there is, and we still cannot.
That's another whole. Because I told someone, I said, "Oh, Liberians don't know time." I said, "Don't say that." Yeah. I said, "The Liberians here, they don't. When they get to a traffic light and the time says stop, do they go? No, they stop. If Liberians, you go to your home and they say you clock in 7 minutes to the time, do we wait?
Yeah, no. To work on time.
We are on time." So it is only a Liberia event before we talk about that. So the problem is not that Liberians don't know time. We don't know time only when it's in. So that's another whole topic.
That's another topic for another day.
Yeah. But again, to close tonight, we want to thank you to all our viewers for watching us and talk about our New Year resolutions. What we need to do now is we're going to come back the 31st and review those resolutions and see how far we've got.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, we got to do it. So Leo, thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jai. It's been a great time, and thank you for having me as well. And those who call in, those who were watching, those who were commenting, thank you so much. I think you made it an interesting conversation. So the time goes back so quick. I didn't even believe we're almost over an hour already. So
yeah, it's over 1 hour, 30 minutes already.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Yeah, we have some interesting lineup coming up. We're going to announce them tomorrow. Tuesday is the election in Georgia. So hopefully we're going to have some politicians to come tomorrow and talk about the elections. We're going to do that.
Mr. Jade, there are people here misunderstanding, saying we are saying good governance doesn't matter. I just want to address that comment before.
Oh, yeah, let's address that.
We're not saying good governance does not. In fact, what we all pray for. In fact, good governance will enhance the country's ability. But we're saying Africa as a whole, not just Liberia, bad governance has become a characteristic of many of our democracies in Africa. So what we're saying is, what can we do to make sure our country still finds a way to make progress while we are fighting hard to get good governance? So no, we're not saying good governance does not matter. It's almost like Mr. Jai saying, I want to live in a 2-story austere building, right? But every Mr. Jai only makes $200 a month. So Mr. Jai only ought to be 1 day zero in. But Mr. Jai keep telling you, say, I can't do nothing. I can't buy my chair to put in a house. I can't face the flow. I can't face the leakage in a roof because I'm waiting for my austere building. So we're saying, let's fight for good governance. That's where we want to go. Good presidents, good governments, good leaders. But in the face of what we've got, we need to try to find a way to make it possible still. Thank you.
Right. And to add to that, Sam is saying, the people cannot do that. The people cannot build the roads. Yes, we understand the people cannot do these things. But right now we are doing something. And sometimes I made this a wild, hypothetical thing that, hey, maybe if all of us in the diaspora, just one day they just bundle all of us and send us to Liberia, that we can't go anywhere. What do you think we're going to do? You're going to fight for survival. You're going to make things happen. I went to train at a healthcare facility. So when I trained them for 5 days on how to use the IT stuff, electronic medical record, I mean, Friday, they couldn't let me go because Friday is go live.
Yeah.
So they couldn't let me go. Oh, how do we do this? They were so scared. So at the end, the doctor called me and said, you know, Dennis, what I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to break everything that connected us to paper. Yeah. He said the story here is there was this fighting force that went to war. So when the war was tough, so what they did when they crossed the bridge, they broke down the bridge because they said, if we have a pathway back, we're not going to fight to our best.
But we have to run away at some point.
We have to run away. So we have a way back. So if they can bundle us and say, hey, you're going to be in Liberia,
put all of us.
Very innovative. We went to Guinea. The Camp Kola where we went, they took us the same day. There was a tractor that plowed the place. When they plowed the place, the ground was wet, and they gave us our little tents. So you build a tent, but how do you lie down on that floor? So we put just the tarpaulin, and as you lay down, right, the worms start going like this under you.
Yeah.
Within the next 2-3 months, that place was looking like a city. Yeah. So if your back is against the wall, you're going to do all we can. You will not find any excuse. You will do something. That's what we're saying. But good governor is good. I wish President Weah was like Barack Obama or Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Or Reagan, before my Republican colleagues say.
Or Nelson Mandela.
Or Mandela. Or it was like Gerald Rollins. But it's not the case. That's not what we have.
Lumumba, but that's not the case. We got what we got.
Yeah, we got. So how do we work with it? Let's find a way around it. Just like that woman was able to get the saliva from the leper.
That's what we got to do.
Something. On that note, we want to say thank you so much for your contribution. Thanks so much for watching. We want to leave you with our song that always say, we are all Liberians. Whether you believe this government will get a second term or third term or 24 years loading, or you don't have any faith in this government, we're still Liberians. Whether you believe that a good governance is required or not, we are still Liberians, and we should do all we can to make Liberia that glorious land of liberty. Good night.
We are Liberians.